Is there anyone who hasn't travelled with
No, everybody's travelled. Maxi Corney's not travelled. He's got a little bit of a calf strain, which we don't know how long it'll keep him out at the moment, but we don't think it's too severe, but he's not travelled.
And just quickly on Declan, he speaks so well, and I can see he's just smiling when he's talking. Like, do you almost sometimes feel like a proud dad, just like sitting there listening?
Yeah, well, he's what he is he's a great ambassador for himself in West Ham, and he speaks so well for a boy who's so young. And you talk about being a leader. Part of being a leader is actually doing that and trying to stand up and show what your worth is. But I do think that he learns an awful lot when he goes away with England. I think England have got a fantastic manager. They've also got some really top players. And I think because of that, it gives them a chance to see how really the top people work and manoeuvre. And I think Dec's learning an awful lot from it. But I think now, most of you, a lot has been written, and I'm saying is, a lot of people are looking at Dec as near enough, one of the main boys now for England, probably after Harry Kane. He's arguably England's most important player nowadays. So, and it shows you how far and how well he's done in a short period.
You've remained very calm and composed over the last few weeks, even if results are not going your way. But just how relieved were you to get that result against Wolves?
Oh, extremely relieved. As you look what happened to the manager at Wolves, which was really unfortunate. Incredibly, there was very little between our position and their position in the league. I'm not saying that there's no difference between maybe my position was at West Ham compared to his position at Wolves, but certainly our league positions were much different. But I think that's what we're seeing in football at the moment. I think there seems to be an awful lot of changes. I don't know what goes on behind the doors of the other clubs, but behind our club, I've had great support from the club, great support from the owners and everybody behind it. So we think that we're building something and trying something, and we're trying to make West Ham a consistent team in the Premier League. That isn't an easy thing to do, but we're trying to make a good fist of it.
And you've been very consistent in Europe. If you get a positive result in these next two games, it's very likely that you'll finish you'll top the group. Just how important is it so you can then start looking ahead to March and the knockouts?
Well, the first thing I need to say is I wouldn't in any way disrespect Anderlecht at all. We have to come. We're away from home in Europe. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do. Come away and get results, and Anderlecht are a proud football team, and they'll want to win as well. They'll see the chance of beating us and getting above us in the group. But you're right when you say we have them in this week and next week. So it's we're going to play each other twice very quickly, quick turnaround games, and at the moment both us and Anderlecht are looking like the teams with the most points. Now that could change with the way the other two games go. Who knows how they're going to go? So no, it's important, but we'd like to win the group if we could. But for me, as I said last year, if we qualify and we've got European football after Christmas next year, then that will be a real bonus for us once again.
You dropped Antonio Fornals and Kufal for the Wolves game, and you still put out an incredibly strong team. Just what sort of message does that send to the rest of the squad, that you can drop players and bring players in? And it must send a message, but
I was going to say, I think what we wanted a stronger squad of players, where we could come to Europe and we could play a really strong team, or we could, and to be fair, we made a pretty good go of it last year in the group stages, but obviously we probably ran out of steam a bit later on a little bit, and it wasn't so much that we ran out of steam in the European games, we ran out of steam when we come back to the Premier League games. So I have to find a way of trying to manage that a little bit better. We've been a little bit short on injuries. We were short of centre halves for a while. We had a couple of full-backs out there injured as well for a while. But we're just about got all the players back fit now. Obviously we've got Corney out. We're still nursing Angelo a little bit, but we're trying to give Angelo games and getting him back. So in the main we've just got a full squad, and that gives me options to change, gives me competition. And on Saturday, you know, I felt that we had to do something a little bit better, and I think it was better.
Yep.
Hi, Mr. Moyes. Jan Vertonghen said at the press conference today that with his experience, he thought that English clubs, the priority is Premier League and Champions League, less Europa League and Conference League. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do agree with that, because I think that I have to say that being a Premier League and doing well in the Premier League is always so important. But what you do when you do well in the Premier League, it gets you in Europe. And everybody's always really, really thrilled if you can make Europe, especially West Ham. For us to be in Europe now 2 years in a row is fantastic. So we're really enjoying it. Last year we had a brilliant run in Europe, some which we really enjoyed. So yeah, I have to honestly say, yeah, the focus will always be to make sure that you're a sound, competitive Premier League team. But I think if you have a squad big enough and capable enough to deal with all the cup competitions, I'm going to try and do that. I've always done that, and we'll do that again in this competition as well.
Maybe one last one, because Anderlecht is still proud of having beaten West Ham in 1976 European final.
Yeah.
Tomorrow they will invite the players who played that game. Is that still a topic also in West Ham?
Yeah, it very much is. I mean, it's something which the people at the club that were talking about. Many of the media have discussed it, and there was some of the old players in at the training ground, and some of the people who were at the game who I spoke to about it. So it is still discussed. Yes, it is, and obviously Anderlecht, as we all know, were always one of the biggest European teams and talked about a lot. So. Look, it's great. I'm really looking forward to being here. Belgium as a nation are doing unbelievably well under Roberto Martinez, and I've got so many good players all over Europe now.
Yeah, thank you.
David, I understand you had young Regan Clayton training with you today.
Who's that?
Regan Clayton.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about it. Has he travelled with the squad?
No, he's not. But we brought Ollie Souls, second name, Ollie Souls with us, who I think is 16.
Yep.
And he'll be involved. But I do know that Anderlecht have got a couple of young 16, 18-year-old players. So it's a great thing that young players get opportunities, and some of them will play. And we used a lot last year, but we've got at the 23s now, we've got a new group, and we're trying to promote the sort of younger ones even sooner and quicker if we think they're doing well, and Ollie's doing really well.
Just bringing the kind of players with you, like for first team training or trips out like this, how much does that enhance their development?
Well, I wouldn't go back and tell you all about my early experiences where I was taken as a young player at Celtic and had great experiences when I was young. I think it's really important you try and bring your young players, and that's why clubs like Anderlecht, for example, and I use this with maybe not get the same financial clout, have to produce their own players and have to bring young players into the team, and it's great. So we really do want to do that at West Ham. But getting to the standard of being a Premier League player now is a really difficult thing, and the journey to get there can be very difficult. Quite often a lot of the players have to maybe from Belgium or Germany or France, and maybe get the games in the countries before they can get to the Premier League. But if we can get some through from our academy, it would be huge for the club. I think, even Declan, and you look at Ben Johnston, boys who've been through it at the moment, I think it's really important for your club.
Just adding one really quickly. Obviously, you gave Maxwell Cornet his first league start, and that ends through injury. Do you kind of feel for him for a bit, but you're kind of working towards that chance, and it gets cut short for him.
Yeah, and it was difficult because we want Maxi, we want to try and get him up to speed, and again he was another boy who had no pre-season games, didn't do an awful lot in pre-season, so we're trying to edge him towards it, and he's actually had a contribution in quite a few of the games at the moment. So coming off early, and actually these are the sort of games where we're talking about there's a chance where you could give these boys an opening and a great opportunity to play, show what they can do. So, but we've not got Maxi, so that's it.
Very good.
David, just following on from what Declan was speaking about, the sheer volume of games he's playing, I wondered, do you feel the same? He seems
Yeah.
He wants to go for 70. When do you think too many is too many?
Well, look, I think football, if you're talking about a bigger all-round question, probably not the one you mentioned just now, the whole thing in football, there is so many games. And actually, I was asking the question to one of the staff on the bus coming here, have all the other European leagues got as many games from the international break until the start of the World Cup, for example, Belgium or Germany or France, whatever leagues, have they all got the similar amount of games as what the Premier League have got, or is it different? Because we all know that we're on a really, really difficult schedule. So that's why the good thing is we do have a bit of a squad. We can look to change. We can make changes because I feel as if we've got good competition now. Gianluca Scamacca has shown that. With Mickey Antonio, we've got good competition in centre forward areas, and as long as we stay away from injuries, which Declan sort of referred to there, we should be okay.
But do you think it's sustainable in playing close to 70 games every year?
No, it's not. It's not sustainable and actually, it's something which I would hope that the people who run and the authorities in football are going to look into, because we might be on the back of the pandemic, we might be back on the first ever year we've ever done a World Cup in the middle of it. So there could have been a lot of things come together which has actually made this a lot worse than what we would expect it to be. And that's what I'm hoping is. I'm hoping that once we get over the World Cup in this period, the levelling out for football players is a bit better, and even for their own life, that everybody would. It's a great life being a football player. It really is, and they're very fortunate. A lot of things they do, but they also need some time themselves with their families. And like Declan's a young baby and probably getting very little time to be with his new baby. So there's lots of things like that which, as you all know, can make it difficult.
One last one from Roger.
I got two. Just in terms of a follow-up question about fixtures, especially West Ham being in Europe, what have you done to adapt the number of games the players have had? Like, is it like more days off? Is it more hygiene changes?
Yeah, a bit of all that. I think last year it was a little bit the opposite. Last year we didn't give much time off last year. We sort of kept it going. But you could feel we had a great momentum last season, which had built up from the year before, and the momentum, and I wanted to keep momentum going. Obviously this year we've not started as well, so I've actually slightly gone the opposite way, and I've tried to give them a little bit more time off to try and see in case it's been too much. And I know that, and this is why I talk to you boys quite a lot about where I'm going. You've got an idea, and I'm trying to find a way of getting that momentum back up, giving them a little bit more time off because of the amount of games, trying to make sure that the players who've been here before, they get back to their levels, which I've talked about a couple of weeks ago. And I sense there's an incredible team spirit with the players. There really is. Through the club, we've got a great spirit, and I feel that's a real strength and a real positive which they've got. They're really high because they know they get a good win and an important win at the weekend, and we want to build on it. I've told them we want to try and get a momentum going again. We want to come into this batch of games where we feel as if we can go and win 3 or 4 on the bounce if we can. That's the aim.
And just a word on Flynn Down. I know he hasn't featured much this season. It's just a case where he just adapted to training and obviously played the championship last season, step up to.
Yeah, well, if you ask me, where he'd been to what I'm seeing now, and I look at some other players, I've looked at, maybe like Calvin Phillips, who went to Man City and maybe not really. I don't know if he's been injured or adapted or whatever, but I think it will always happen. Now I'm talking about somebody coming out the championship, Flynn Down, so he's needing time. And it's different when you might say, well, what with Jared Bowen? And I'm saying this because Jared Bowen joined us when we were probably a team trying to avoid the bottom 3. Flynn Downs has now joined a team who's trying to be in the top half of the league. So we've changed from that point of view. So he'll need to wait his opportunities. But what I would say is I think he's trained much better in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And we're certainly seeing a bit more from Flynn than when he first came in. And maybe he's recognising, hey, I've got to step up as well, and I'm going to have to move up if I'm going to join these boys here.
One last question, then we're done.
Anderlecht had some bad results in the league. Do you feel that they can use the Conference League to boost them
Yeah, I do. I think that being good in any cup competition, I think, is really important for the supporters, for the people at the club, for the team. I think they've done well. They've not conceded a goal here, if I'm right, and not conceded a goal yet in the competition. Am I right in saying that? Yeah. So, you know, that itself it gives you that they're going to be a hard team to beat. I also think that the teams also sometimes get a positive when they're playing against a Premier League team. It's a big game, and it gives them a little bit more energy, like, you know, you have sometimes in England with some of the teams. But look, we go out, we have to try and play well. We know that we are still trying to build our team again. We're still trying to improve. We've got a lot of things we need to do much better, and I'm sure Anderlecht are probably saying the same about their team also.
Leading West Ham in Europe this season, I know you did it plenty of occasions last year as well, but as the club captain, it must be a proud of you.
Yeah, it's an absolute honour. Obviously, last year had Nobes as, you know, club captain, and I was the on-field captain in a way. But this year, obviously, I've got full responsibility, and, you know, to be back in Europe's, you know, it's key. It's key again for the lads, for the club, and it's a real honour.
How have you found the start to the season on a personal note in terms of your form as well as the new responsibility?
Yeah, obviously, I think I'm always going to be picked out as one if I'm not having a good game, because I've set the bar so high for myself, you know. You know, I think the first couple of games, it took me a couple of games to get going. But I feel like I'm starting to find my form again. Obviously, so many games last season, so many games now leading up to the World Cup. So, you know, I need to pace myself in a way so, you know, I'm not going to get injured or I'm not going to break down. But I'm feeling really good. You know, me and the manager have a great relationship, and, you know, I'm ready to play and give 100% every time, you know, I put on the shirt.
Your manager said quite a few times last season that you were probably the England player who managed to maintain your form off the back of the Euros. I mean, have you found it difficult, I suppose?
No, I worked out last year from June to June. I played 68 games in a year, so that's an obscene amount of games. And you've got to stay fit. You know, you've got to eat the right things. Your nutrition has to be good. You have to be spot on throughout the whole year. And of course, at some point, it might take its toll. But then it's down to you as the player, you know, to find that balance and to get back on track. And I feel like I'm starting to do that again now. Starting to feel good again, feel sharp. So hopefully I can keep pushing, and, you know, as a team now we can keep kicking on in the league and in Europe as well.
I mean, the World Cup is, 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away, something like that. I suppose it's a great carrot to have there, but is it difficult to balance those things, pacing yourself and knowing that huge thing is just looming there now?
No, of course, I didn't mean pacing myself as in I'm not going into games, not 100%. Every game I go into, I walk off and I'm knackered. I mean it in the fact that, you know, obviously there's big games for West Ham, big games for England. I don't want to get injured or do anything silly. Of course, there's a big World Cup coming up, but at the moment the focus is, you know, West Ham, because we haven't had the greatest starts in the league. We don't want to be where we are in the table, and, you know, we want to be back up in European spots and pushing up that end of the table. So obviously there's big games for England, but West Ham is the focus at the moment.
With that experience, you're captain in West Ham, you're playing with a teenager in midfield for England. Are you feeling like the elder statesman now?
No, not really. So even though I've played so many games, you know, I'm still only 23. You know, even when I play with Jude, you know, he's a leader in his own way as well. Like I said last week, he's like a real man out there, and it's, you know, it's really good that, you know, I'm building a good relationship with him. I don't feel like an old head out there now. There's a few older lads above me.
Hi there. What's the secret to playing over 60 games and barely getting injured? Like, is there like a special thing you do, or is it just?
Nah, I think I don't know really. Obviously, people have bad luck with injuries, and, you know, sometimes it's just a luck thing that you get injured. You know, away from the pitch, I try to keep myself as healthy and as fit as possible. Try to do everything right. You know, you only get one career, and you want to maximise that. So I want to play as many games as possible, and, you know, when you hit that amount of games, you know, it's a proud moment for yourself to say that you've played that many games in a year. You know, it shows the hard work that you've put in.
But at the same time, do you not sometimes feel as though you need rest, or do you not want to rest?
No, I think I don't want to rest at all. You know, when we played against Silkeborg, I said to the manager before the game I wanted to play in that game. You know, I I want to play in every game, even though we've got a bigger squad now, you know, more competition for places. Every time, you know, there's a chance to play for West Ham and get an appearance and to captain this club it's a great opportunity. So I want to play in every game that I'm available to.
And you've taken over Mark Noble. Is there anything that's surprised you or you found tougher than you thought it may have been in terms of, I'm thinking in terms of there's so many new players coming in, and as a captain, it's your job to make sure they're all fitting in. And is that something you found quite tough, or is that?
No, I've not found it tough because I learned so much from Nobes and how he dealt with the players. He was the best at that. You know, every new player that joined, you know, I dropped him a text. You know, said if they need anything, I'm there. And I've got a great relationship with all of them already, which is really good. Obviously, there's a bigger scale of, you know, talking to, you know, people like Karen Brady, obviously having a closer relationship with the manager, talking about different things, having views, opinions. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes that Nobes made look so easy. And of course, I'm still only 23. I think he was 27, 28 when he took over as captain of West Ham. So I'm still learning. Nobody's perfect, but I'm really enjoying it.
How daunting is that, having conversations with people like Karen Brady and people in the higher echelons of the club? Like, it's quite a responsibility to have.
Yeah, of course. I feel like, you know, we've got a great group. You know, Cresswell's been helping me out a lot as well, you know, as an experienced head. So's Bonner. But yeah, going into them conversations, you know, they're always just open and honest, and, you know, you're trying to get the best for the lads and, of course, for yourself as well.
And in terms of, obviously, a lot of new faces in the squad, I think a lot of talk this season has been about adapting and making sure everyone fits in. Do you think now, you look at the squad now and everyone looks settled and ready?
Yeah, I feel like you can see that. There were signs of that against Wolves. You know, there's still room for improvement for sure, but I feel like, you know, we've been unlucky this season in some ways. I know the manager mentioned it last week, but we've hit the woodwork so much. We've created chances and not put them in the back of the net. You know, little split-second decisions that haven't gone our way when last season they was going our way. Feel like the luck has turned at the start of the season for us, where nothing was dropping for us. But now we're all gelling together. We had a few injuries at the start, a few illnesses, but got a full squad, full group, and, you know, now we're really trying to push on because of the quality of players we've got.
Last couple, Roshane.
Declan, as you mentioned, you're only 23. So what do you think you still need to work on to take a game to that next level?
So much. You know, of course, the best players in the world, you know, they're still trying to improve. You know, for me, I speak with the manager when I go to England. In possession, you know, I want to do more on the ball. I want to take the games by the scruff of the neck more, because I know I've got it in me. It's just about going out there and doing it. You know, there was games last season where I felt that on the pitch. I said to myself in my head, I'm gonna go and take this game by the scruff of the neck. Give me the ball. I'm gonna show you what I can do, and I know I can do that more. There's a lot of talk about me scoring goals. Look, it's one of them things for me. If I can protect the team, you know, defensively, I'll do that. But scoring goals would be a good thing as well, that I could start to add to my game, and I'm really trying to do that. But of course, when we've got such a goal threat in Thomas, I like to let him push on a little bit more.
In many people's eyes, you're viewed as a potential future England captain. Two-part question: how does that make you feel? And talk me through the role David Moyes has played to make you become the leader you are today.
Yeah, obviously to be put in that category of potential England captain, special. I'm really laid back, really chilled out. You know, I don't take it on board too much until something ever actually happens. You know, I try to take every day as it comes, and to obviously get them comparisons is really nice. But we've got a great captain in Kane at the minute, and obviously he'll be there for probably the next 2 World Cups. So it's not one of my main focuses at the minute. And with the manager, he's obviously had me twice now as a player, so we've got a great relationship. You know, he spoke to me about, you know, the great captains he's had in the past, people like Jagielka, Phil Neville at Everton, obviously Nobes, just top pros, top athletes who, you know, want the best for their football career. And he's really just given me top advice, and I feel like now we can both speak honestly with each other, and that's a good relationship to have.
About a year ago, you mentioned you like to emulate in terms of goal scoring potentially the likes of Patrick, Yaya Toure. I wonder, is there anyone else you've been watching recently to try and improve areas of your game?
To be honest with you, mate, we've got too many games ourselves that I can't really even sit down and watch football matches anymore. I'm too tired by the time the telly comes on. But like them players,
that's because you got a newborn now.
Yeah, I know. I've got that as well. He's making me not sleep. Yeah, like I said last year, I'm obviously trying to take my game, you know, running past players. I know I've got that in me. When I can explode past someone, I feel like, I feel really strong and athletic. There are so many top midfielders now, even young players coming through in the Premier League. It's a privilege to watch, and the competition for places not only at West Ham but England as well. They're getting tougher.
Okay, two more before Declan goes. One from Simon and one from John T. Simon?
Declan. I've used the word obscene to describe the number of games you played from June to June 60. Are you saying that you're just in awe of yourself to get through that many games, or is it too many, and how many is too many?
No, do you know what? When it was closing up, I was trying to see how many games I could. Last season, from the Euros to the end of the season, was 68. But I was thinking, how can I get 70? And I just wanted to keep pushing, and get as many as possible. And I feel like, the more games I play, I don't like to rest. I like to keep playing to get the momentum building. Even with training as well. Obviously, it's hard to get training in a minute because of so many games. But the more training you get, the more games, the momentum builds. Then that's when your confidence flies. And last season, that was really key for me because I was going into games, full confidence, thinking that I was going to be the best player, and just going out there knowing that if I have a good game, that'd be good for myself and also the team.
Declan, just one for me, obviously, the club spent a lot of money and there's been a lot of big name arrivals in the summer, Gamaka, Paquetá, to name a few. What do you think of the competition of the squad as a whole and, compared to other seasons where you've been at the club?
Yeah, I think it's what we needed, it's healthy. I think it's really good because, you never want to get too comfortable in a position. You always want to be pushed by top players, and that makes you push on as well. And how well we've done the last 2 years, obviously in Europe again this season, it's the step that the club needed to take. And, us as players now, you look around the changing room and see the quality we've got, it's exciting. So it's really good to have top players and to know that, you're not always safe on the team sheet because we've got so many good players now.
Okay, one final one.
Yes. About the game of tomorrow, what do you know about Anderlecht, and what do you expect from this game?
Obviously a top European club. When we got drawn to Anderlecht, we knew it would be a tough game. We obviously know some of their players that now play, Vertonghen. Josh Cullen used to be here, who was at West Ham, he's now at Burnley. He had great experiences and great things to say about this club, so we know it's going to be a good atmosphere tomorrow. It's going to be a good game. We want to beat them, and we really want to push on in the group. So, it's a game that we're really looking forward to.